Hi, welcome to Tradition Today. I'm Father David Smith. I don't get much of a chance to get away, but when I do, I like to go fishing. Not the kind of fishing that most people are familiar with, but I like to go fly fishing. Fly fishing is a little different than ordinary fishing or spin cast fishing. Rather than just throwing bait into the water and seeing what strikes it, seeing what takes it, the fly fisherman uses carefully designed lures called flies. I have one right here. And we put them in the water, float them on the top of the water or below the water in order to try to mimic something in nature and get the fish to strike against it. So it's a little harder than regular fishing because you need to be careful about where you put the fly in the water. You need to be careful about how your line is moving your fly around, because the line can make the fly look very unnatural, and the fish notice that and they won't take it. And you also have to sort of know where the fish are. And then when one of them strikes against it, to pull back and set the hook just right so you can bring the fish in. So join me for Tradition Today. We're going to do a little bit of fly fishing and talk about the way that fly fishing relates to the matters of the Spirit. Psalm 42 says, "As the deer pants for the stream, so my soul pants for you, O Lord." You know, it amazes me sometimes how much water imagery is used in the Bible and how much water is seen as a blessing from God, as something given by God, and dryness or dry spells or being thirsty or parched in your mouth is seen as a way of expressing that God is absent, that there is a separation from God. I love the little book Courage to Pray by Metropolitan Anthony Bloom. This is a great basic book about prayer, and he writes about the similarity between times of water and times of moisture, times of blessing from God, and also those times of dryness. How often our prayer is false because we try to present ourselves to God not as we are, but as we imagine He wants us to be. We come to Him in our Sunday best or in borrowed finery. It is important that before we start to pray, we should take time to recollect ourselves, to reflect, and to become aware of the real state in which we present ourselves to the Lord. "My heart is ready, Lord, my heart is ready," we can say. "As pants the hart for cooling streams, so longs my soul for thee, O God." But too often we drag ourselves into God's presence by a dour effort of the will. We're doing a duty with no heart in it. We force ourselves to appear to be what we know we are deep down, but do not at that moment feel. The living waters have sunk in dry lands. We should tell this to God, who is the truth. "Lord, I come to you with a dry heart, but I am forcing myself to stand before you because of a deep conviction. I love and worship you with my deepest being, but today this deepest being has failed to surface." Sometimes we find that we do not even present ourselves to God out of deep conviction, but out of an almost superstitious fear. If I do not pray, perhaps God will withdraw His protection from me. We should confess this distrust and lack of faith, and hope in God's love and faithfulness. There are many other ways in which we present ourselves to God. We have become aware of these different states in which we pray. Otherwise, our prayer will not even contain the truth of the moment. It will be an absolute lie, a betrayal of both the old and new Adam in us. It will neither be true to what is stable and eternal in us, nor to passing moods. There's another element about fly fishing that reminds me of the spiritual life, and that comes from the idea that water is a metaphor for the soul. It's like the face that I present when I'm in public. It's the first thing you see. It's what I present to everyone I meet. It's sort of like a stream I might approach. When I come up to a stream, like the waters I see today, this is the first time I've been here, I don't really see any fish. I might see one or two rising to the surface, but I have a sense that there are fish here, so I'm going to spend some time fishing this water. It's like the spiritual life. Beneath the surface, there is life. There are, like in this water, I think, big, intelligent animals, not like mice or like bugs. I'm talking about trout. And with the right kind of instruction, and the right kind of patience, and a little bit of time, you might be able to catch one. I'm going to go back to this book, Courage to Pray by Metropolitan Anthony Bloom. I want to read a little bit about what he says about this. Throughout the day, we are a succession of social personalities, sometimes unrecognizable to others or even to ourselves. And when the time comes to pray and we want to present ourselves to God, we often feel lost because we do not know which of these social personalities is the true human person and have no sense of our own true identity. The several successive persons that we present to God are not ourselves. There is something of us in each one of them, but the whole person is missing. And that is why a prayer which could rise powerfully from the heart of the true person cannot find its way between the successive men of straw we offer to God. Each of these speaks a word which is true in its own partial way, but does not express the other partial personalities we have been during the day. It is extremely important that we find our unity, our fundamental identity. Otherwise, we cannot encounter the Lord in truth. The search for this unity may take time. We should be on the watch all the time to see that none of our words and actions are incompatible with the fundamental integrity we are seeking. We must try and discover the real person we are, the secret person, the core of the person to come, and the only eternal reality which is already in us. Sometimes it takes a long time, but given that time and instruction and patience, I can discover myself in prayer. There's another aspect of fly fishing that reminds me of the spiritual life, and that's the difficulty involved in doing it. You know, sometimes I go and I spend the whole day trying various places, walking up and down the stream, trying to see just where the trout are going to be, trying to make the fly go by them just in the right way so that they're going to strike at it, and then trying to see if I can actually react at the right time so that I can hook the fish. It seems like an easy thing to do, but it's very frustrating sometimes. And oftentimes I just spend the day enjoying the outdoors and enjoying the water and never catching a fish. Can you imagine if you were to go play golf and spend the whole day golfing, but never actually get the ball to go into the little hole? That's a little bit like fly fishing sometimes. And actually it's a little bit like the spiritual life. As I'm fishing sometimes, I remember the words in Psalm 130. It's a beautiful psalm about this kind of thing. Out of the depths I cry to thee, O Lord. Lord, hear my voice. Let thine ears be attentive to the voice of my supplications. If thou, O Lord, shouldst mark iniquities, Lord, who could stand? But there is forgiveness with thee, that thou mayest be feared. I wait for the Lord, my soul waits, and in his word I hope. My soul waits for the Lord, more than watchmen for the morning, more than watchmen for the morning. O Israel, hope in the Lord. For with the Lord there is steadfast love, and with him is plenteous redemption, and he will redeem Israel from all his iniquities. Do you hear those words of the psalmist? My soul waits for the Lord, as a watchman waits for the morning. You know, sometimes it just doesn't seem like I'm going to ever actually catch a trout when I'm fishing. But then sometimes I get surprised as well. But you know, even if I don't, and even if I do, it's definitely worth the wait. It's worth learning to do this, just like it's worth learning to wait on God, because we know God is there. Learning to wait for him, learning to wait for him to respond to our prayers, learning to wait for us to notice his response to our prayers. I have a sinking fly today. We have lots of overhanging trees. I have a sinking feeling I'm going to end up at some point with my line caught in those trees. I can see up in the trees where other people have left their lines. I'm hoping my line does not join them. Have to mend that line. Means you watch the flow of the line, try to make sure that it gets the most natural look. Try to make it look natural. It's really quite surprising when you just take a net, a real fine net like you would use for goldfish, and you rub it along the bottom of the stream, the amount of life that is there. It's incredible. I'm just trying to get this fly to join all of that life. No. Oh, maybe there's nothing down there. Maybe they heard us setting up the camera and took off. I guess if I go home and my wife asks me if I caught anything, I can say I caught some trees, saw some ducks. Trying to tie a fly stream side, not actually tie a fly. Trying to put some new line on it. The problem is that I do this at home and everything seems to be fine. But then when I get out here alongside the stream, it's a little harder. I think maybe I need bifocals or something, I don't know. Oh, now I can see it. I wish it would go in the hole though. I think there's some stuff in the hole that's preventing the line from going through. You know, that's a little bit like those things that we think about, we pray about, we read about. Certain things that happen to us. We may read a book about how to deal with frustrating people. We may read a book about the Jesus prayer, about spending our time praying the Jesus prayer. And to a large degree, that's fine to do that and to think about those things when we're alone, when we're reading, when we're praying, when we're able to stand back. It's like me tying line together in my living room. The conditions are ideal. But that's not where you go fishing, in your living room. I'm fishing out here. Where the conditions are not ideal. And you have to deal with different things. You know, I was someplace this weekend, actually at a reception, and there was a person there who said some things. He was talking in such a way that, you know, some people talk at a reception and they gather people around them. I never do that. I always like to talk one-to-one. But this man, well, he was talking with a group of people around him. And he said some things that I didn't agree with. So when I responded to him and I said something to him, he responded, I think, by attacking me, by saying something about me, not about what I was thinking, not about my viewpoint, but about me. And at least I think, well, maybe I was being oversensitive. Maybe if you asked him, he would say, no, that's not what he meant at all. But I thought the message was clear. So I walked away. I have found myself that sometimes the smartest thing I do when I run across people like that is to just walk away. Well, I'll tell you something. This line does not want to go through this hole, the end of the hook. I think I'm going to give up on this guy and get another fly. That's what I think I'm going to do. So I walked away from this man. Now I know what I should be doing. When I walk away from him, I should pray. I should pray for him. I should pray for me. I should just pray the Jesus prayer. These are flies that float on top of the water. Maybe those will be a little bit more successful today. Maybe I'll catch another tree. I should pray. I know what I should be doing. I've done the work. I've preached sermons about this. But you know what happens when I walk away? I don't do what I should be doing. I don't do the thing that I should do. I think St. Paul said that. Romans chapter 7. I don't do the thing that I should do. I walk away and I say to myself, what a person that guy is. He doesn't know what he's talking about. I hope he knows I walked away from him, and I hope he feels bad about it, and things like this. Maybe even if I see somebody else, I'll say to them, you know what he said? Maybe I'll even say that. I'll add gossip to the ways that I have sinned because of that experience. And you know what? He's not any more guilty. Or I should say, he's not guilty anymore. Whatever he has done to me is really incidental to the fact that now I know what I should be doing and I'm not doing it. There, see, I got that through on the first one. On the first try. Now, there's a whole different knot you use for tying flies. Which again works very well in my living room. It works very well in my kitchen. There, I'm getting it. Doesn't always work well here. This seems to be working okay. The thing that I know I should do, I don't always do. In fly fishing or in the spiritual life. Fly fishing just isn't that important. I think I heard a fish come up over there. Wonder if he feels like being on TV. This is a nice stream. I'm at Limestone Creek in Manlius, New York. Actually, as a boy, I grew up around this stream. Used to go swimming somewhere near here. Nothing quite looks the same. The stream looks smaller. Of course, I'm probably 3 times bigger. Maybe not 3 times taller, but I weigh 3 times as much as I did when I swam as a boy here. There's a lot of great places to fish here. I'll probably come back when I'm not wearing a microphone and enjoy myself. I guess when you first look at it, it seems like maybe the stream is all the same in terms of fishing. You just throw in the line anywhere and let the fly float downstream and see what comes along. But once you actually get the equipment, as humble as my equipment is, and you get out on the stream, you begin to see each and every rock, how they're different, how they create pools and flows and runs that might carry food that a trout might want to eat. And maybe for some people, the spiritual life consists in going to church and nothing more. It's kind of like doing what I'm doing. You sit on the side of the stream with your pole in your hand and your hat on your head and just look at it. It's beautiful enough. It's good. But there's a lot more there. There's a lot more pools, many more runs. There's fish in there. There are beautiful days. There are things that we can do, learn, time that we can spend, and time that we can enjoy. So I guess if I'm talking about fly fishing in the spiritual life, really what I'm talking about is anything that requires your attention and your patience and even your love, to learn that there are intricate details that are worth exploring and hold great reward for those who are willing to spend the time.